What is up, everybody? These are the games that I played at Dice Tower East 2025. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time watching the 9 to 5 Gamers, well, welcome. We do board game reviews, top 10s, and today I'm going to talk about some of the 2025 games that I played at Dice Tower East. I'm looking forward to all the rest of the games that are coming out in 2025, but so far, these are going to be the games that I've played, and some of these are not from 2025, but I'm just going to kind of go through the list of all the games I did play it, so feel free to skip through. If you like what you're watching, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to give it a like, because if you give the video a like, YouTube will go, ooh, let me go ahead and give this out to more people. All right, so please like this video. Let's get into what we're talking about today. So first one on my list, and these are going to be alphabetical, I played the game called Alibis. Alibis is a really interesting game where it mixes the mechanisms from That's So Clover and code names, where you have these different suspects, and these suspects are holding up a kind of like a number or like these word cards, and then you have to try to figure out which words the other person is using. It's kind of like code names, but a little bit like That's So Clover, which is a really good game. I love actually both of those games, and this one kind of mixes the two together. Really fun. It's cooperative. It's fantastic. It's super cheap. It's made by All Play. Great game. Next game on my list is Bombbusters. Bombbusters is a really cool game. This one just won LDRs, I believe, or it got nominated. I'm pretty sure it won. But this game is cool. You are basically trying to cooperatively work together by cutting and snipping wires of a bomb, but you have to kind of do them in not the right order, but you have to get matches of numbers, and so everybody's going to be randomly dealt these little number tiles, and you have to try to get pairs of them. So it's kind of like a memory game of trying to know who has what. Once you've put one of your numbers down, you put it down in front of you, and so you can kind of see like, all right, these numbers are in like numerical order, so it's like I know the 2 is there, or maybe the 3 is coming up. Pretty cool game. I didn't really say for Alibis, but Alibis, I liked it enough that I bought it. I think it's somewhere between like a 7 and an 8. That was Alibis. Bombbusters, I think it's somewhere between like a 7 and an 8 for me personally. I wasn't in love with the game, but again, we were just kind of going through like the tutorial levels. We didn't really get to anything difficult, so take that with a grain of salt, because it might actually be better than that once you get through the tutorial levels and you start getting some of the main mechanisms to start running, like including some of the red, blue, and yellow wires and things like that. So pretty interesting. Bombbusters is pretty cool though. I played Canvas for the first time. That's a great game. It's a solid game. I gave it somewhere between like a 7 and an 8. I don't know if it's a game I'm going to want to play all the time, but it's a cool game where you have these transparencies and you're putting them in sleeves and you're trying to score certain points and different things like that. It's cool. It's like you're making pictures, like works of art. I thought it was nice. I don't know how often I would play it. I know my wife would probably love it, so I probably end up getting the game eventually, but definitely not my cup of tea, but it's still good, so don't be deterred from that. The next one is a game called Core of Discovery. Core of Discovery is a Minesweeper meets Search for Planet X, where you have this really cool board that you slip a paper into, and it has a bunch of resources printed, and then every turn you're going to be flipping over a little circle tile, and when you flip those tiles over, take them out of the little notches that they are a part of, you get resources and stuff like that, and then you're trying to beat like different minotaurs or different insects, creatures, and flora, fauna, and different stuff like that. It's a really interesting game, and the mechanisms are pretty cool. The card play is pretty cool, like the different, like, not the card play, but the different cards that have different abilities on them. I ended up buying this game because I thought this game was somewhere between maybe an 8 and a 9. I really enjoyed my play. On the lower end, it may be a 7.5, but I think that it's a solid game. So because I rated it an 8, I picked up a copy because this is the type of game I think my wife would like. She loves Search for Planet X, and when I showed her how the game works, she used to like, I love Minesweeper, so it's got kind of like that same thing, because the idea of where you find the different resources is based off of criteria, like in Search for Planet X, where it's like this thing, like water is next to a wood, but there can't be more than 2 woods in a row and things like that. It's got pure deduction in it. Really good game. I enjoyed it a lot. Next game I played was Cordissance. Cordissance is like a card game made by Pandasaurus, I believe, and man, the production quality on this game is great. I think some people were able to snag this on the Amazon Prime Day for a pretty cheap price. This one's actually pretty good. It's got a market and really interesting card play where every turn you get 3 cards. One card you play in front of you in your own little tableau where you're doing kind of like set collection of the same colored cards that will either score or actually take points away from you. And so every turn you get 3 cards, you play one in your tableau, you play one in somebody else's, and then you play one in the center of the table on the little game mat that it comes with, and you can either make it a negative or a positive card. So it's like this can either deduct points or this can add points. And so you have to determine that market by playing cards into the middle, and everybody's playing cards in the middle, and then at the end of the game, depending if there's more positive or negative cards, determines on what's going to score and what's going to actually deduct points from you. So Cordissance, really fun game. It's pretty fast and it plays really well with 5 people. Really enjoyed this game. That one I would say is probably like a 7 for me. I don't think it's like the best card game I've ever played. It's no Flip 7, if you know what I mean. Greatest card game on the face of the planet, right? Next game on my list is going to be Cretaceous Rails. Cretaceous Rails is fantastic. Let me tell you something. My score for this game was somewhere in the 9 range, somewhere between an 8 and a 9, because I really enjoyed playing this game. But I'll say this right off the bat. This is the best dinosaur game on the market right now. I would much rather play Cretaceous Rails than any other dinosaur game, except for maybe Draftosaurus. I just like Draftosaurus is just fun and simple and quick. But as far as like comparing this to other dinosaur games out there, including Dinosaur Island or Dinosaur World, those games are so heavy, so cluttered. They take up so much space on the table, and this one is somewhat a table hog. But I think mechanically it's just better. I love the action selection system that they have, where they have a grid of 16 tiles that are randomly placed at the beginning of the game, and then you place your workers, these 4 workers that you have, you place them between tiles and take the 2 actions that they're connected to. So it's like, hey, they took the action that I'm looking for. Well, that tile happens to be connected on the right side to another action that I want to do anyway. I never felt any time like I was really stuck. I was like, there's always something I can do, and that cool little action selection system is so interesting. And this game is great, man. It's route building, but at the same time you're capturing dinos, and there's like a nice little push and pull where it's like you can capture these dinos, but then your rails won't score as many points whenever you're taking tourists to see the dinosaurs. You want to kind of like leave them on the path, but taking the dinos is good because you can put them on exhibits and have them score a lot of points. A lot of cool ways to score points in this game. I love Cretaceous Rails. It's about a 9 out of 10. I love this game. Next game on my list is Emberleaf, and if you've never seen Emberleaf, it's right here. This is a game that was created by Frank West. It is from the same designer who made Isle of Cats. As a matter of fact, the box looks kind of similar because it's like just an all-white box with a picture in the center. Emberleaf was, aside from like Havana Tatonica, which I had played for the first time, was my favorite game of the convention. I loved Emberleaf so much that when I got to talk to the designer while he was there, and I was like, yo, Frank, please tell me you got more copies of this game. He's like, no, I don't, man. Like, they are all out. The Kickstarter is being sent out to homes now, and I'm excited for that. And I was like, man, so I want to get my hands on this game. So I popped over to eBay, and I was like, let me see if there's any on eBay. And I paid a little extra than what I think the people paid on Kickstarter, but it wasn't too much extra, and I got the deluxe all-in version of this game with the neoprene mats, which you can kind of see here, versus like which, by the way, you do not need the deluxe version of this game. It just brings a lot of cool extras that are nice. But the game boards themselves are just as good. They look beautiful. They're well made. I don't think there's any reason to not get the retail copy of this game. I think this game is beautiful and works no matter which version you get. But I decked it out because if there's a game I really, really love, I'm going all in on it. So I went all in on this because this game is fantastic. Aside from my one gripe, which is still true no matter how many players you play at, this game is long. You are sitting here for 120 minutes. And the 3 games that I've been able to play have all gone over the 2-hour mark. I have been teaching people this game, so it does take a while, but man, this game is fantastic. You are fighting, building, collecting resources, and he has this mechanism that he created called card dancing. And the way card dancing works is that you're playing cards from your hand. You have a hand of like 6 cards, and then you get to get up to 4 more cards added to this, and you put these cards down on your mat to gain instant abilities, and then some of them have a blue ability, or a green ability rather, that allows them to slide, and when you slide it gives you a different ability. And so you can, when you have a bunch of cards on your board, you do your slide action, you slide every single card over and activate all the slide abilities one at a time, of course. But man, that whole card dancing thing is super cool. It kind of feels like programming. I think Professor Meg from Board Game Co. had been talking about how she felt like it was just programming, that it wasn't really necessary, that I guess they have like a name for it, but it is programming kind of, but it's kind of not. So I kind of understand why he would want to give it a kind of a different name, because it is programming in a sense, but like sometimes like you have to pivot and change your actions, and I guess that happens in programming games too. But this game is great, man, and it's just, you're trying to get the most points and you're trying to settle, and you're putting little workers from your board onto different spaces where you're building stuff. This game is amazing. There's so much to like about this. You gain a lot of points. There's these favor cards, which are like end game scoring, and so these are basically like, hey man, I'm going to do this guy this favor by the end of the game, and so you work towards those. They're kind of what shapes how you play the game. And then not only that, there's a whole deck of cards, of new cards that you can add to your hand, and these don't ever run out. And I've run into some cards in this deck that I'm like, I've never seen this card before. This is awesome. There's so much replayability in this, and I'm going to do a full review here on the channel, so I'm not going to go too deep, but this game is great. This is a 9 out of 10 for me, easily, and I'm going to say some wild hot takes when you see the review, so we'll get to that when we get there. Next game on my list is Feed the Kraken. Feed the Kraken, first time playing this. I've been wanting to play this game for so long. It lived up to the hype. That was a solid 9 out of 10 as well. Probably like in the 8.5 range if I go back to it, but man, it's a really fun game, and everybody's just going around. You don't know who's on whose team. There's like 3 teams playing. There is the pirate team, there is the sailor team, and then there is the cultist team, and nobody knows who's on each other's team except for the pirates. And so you're trying to figure out who's on your side and who's not on your side, because most of the people are going to be sailors, and you're just trying to sail the ship to the east, right? Because I think it's the east or the west. Where's it? The east. I don't remember. You're trying to go east. And then as the pirates, you're trying to go west of the map, and there's 2 end goals on the other sides of the map. But if you're the cultist, you want to drive the boat down the center to get to the Kraken, where you can go ahead and make a sacrifice, and then if you do, you win the game by yourself or with your other cultists that you've created, which is so cool. Feed the Kraken was an amazing experience. You're playing cards and doing different stuff. It was fun. I had a blast doing it. All the mutinies and all the fun things we do, so love that. Next game on my list was Fromage. Fromage is a game about making cheese, and it is a 9 out of 10. Like, it is, this is the year for like board games that I was the least excited for. And honestly though, I wasn't wrong about that. I think there's a lot of people that can probably say the same thing. Like, this year, there's just not a ton of good games that have come out that I've been looking forward to playing. Not a lot of them that sell, you know? But let me tell you, Fromage is fantastic. Fromage was, if I'm being realistic, it's more like an 8.5 maybe. I don't think it's a 9 out of 10. But it is up there. Like, it is a highly, somewhere between an 8 and a 9. I really liked Fromage. I'm at the 9 just because I'm still hyped on it, and I had a really good time playing it. But I love the action selection system where you're putting these cheeses, but the cheeses are going to point in a certain direction on the map because you move the little circle map in the center, and you're in a quadrant doing like a little mini game, and then any of your cheeses that are pointing at you, you get to take those workers back. But if they're pointing in another direction, you have to wait another turn. And so basically, you'll have to wait sometimes up to 3 turns to get your workers back. So you got to be careful how you play them out. But if you play them out for the actions that are going to take about 3 turns to get back to you, it's usually a big action that gets you a bunch of stuff that you need. So I really enjoyed Fromage. It's really, really good. Love that game. Next up, Havana Tatonica. I got the big box. I got this at the flea market. I opened it up. I said, hey guys, can somebody teach me this? They taught me. I played a 3-player game with a friend of ours that we just met that day named Joe, and he wanted to play with us. We played a 3-player game. Havana Tatonica was, next to Emberleaf, my favorite game of the convention. It's an older game. It's not new in any way, shape, or form, but man, this is an evergreen. I don't think I'll ever get rid of this game, and I don't think I'll ever get tired of this game. This game was absolutely spot on perfection. I am tempted to give it a 10 out of 10, but I think I'm going to chill out because I think I'm getting overly hyped with these games. Because then realistically, it's not that great. It's somewhere between an 8 and a 9 for sure. So if you ever see Havana Tatonica and you see that its score is like ridiculously high and you're like, why? It lives up to the hype. It's like, I would compare it to like a Castles of Burgundy, where once you play it, you're like, yo, this game is actually really good. But if you don't like those types of games, then you probably won't like Havana Tatonica. That is the next game on my list. Next one is Hot Streak. Man, let me tell you something. I have never bought a game so quick in my life. That's not true. I bought Millefiori like that. But I played Millefiori, I think last year, and immediately upon playing, I went to the De Beer store and I said, can I get a copy of Millefiori? I need to buy that. But Hot Streak, as soon as I played this once, I carded it immediately. It was at my house right after DE finished, and I got back home. I was like, yo, this game is the best racing game, in my opinion, out of all the racing games that exist. And the reason why is because it is easier to play than Ready, Set, Bet. Ready, Set, Bet has a lot of betting stuff, and it's like, okay, well, you can bet on this guy, but are you going to bet that he's going to be first? Are you going to bet that he's going to be second? Are you going to bet this? Are you going to bet this? Or are you going to bet this? Or are you going to bet on yes or no? Or this? And there's so many spots for you to bet on, and it's like, bro, it's so frustrating to like try to teach this to people who have never played some kind of betting game like that. But Ready, Set, Bet, I've always had a great time. It's not a hard game to learn how to play. It's not difficult to understand once you've gotten the hang of it. But Hot Streak is just so easy to teach. It is so silly. It's wild and zany like Camel Up. But Camel Up, it has a lot more going on. This one has so much less going on. The whole mechanism in this thing, well, it's not even a mechanism, but like this little thing is you pull the map, the game map, out of the actual board. And so I love that about it. And then you've got those basically the gist is you're just, mascots are racing and you're trying to bet on the different mascots of who's going to win. This game was so much fun. You can play with up to 8 people. If you go past 8 people, you're going to have to play it differently, which I don't recommend. But I've never played this with somebody who just absolutely hated the game. So far, everybody has really loved it. It's great with kids. It's great with adults. And man, you can have a lot of fun playing this game. And it's just so cool the way the cards work, because you lay out the cards, like 10 to 15 cards, and you get a sneak peek at who's gonna run faster, because every card has like a number on it, a printed value between like 1 and 3, and those characters it's gonna have a picture of a specific character, and it's gonna say that character is gonna move forward this many spaces. But throughout the game, some of the characters turn around, they bump into each other, they fall off the sides of the map, in which case you get eliminated and you get put into last place. There's so many funny things that happen, and even when you get knocked down, you can continue to like inch your way into victory, which is hilarious. There's so many fun things about Hot Streak. I gave this game a 9 out of 10. Unapologetically, it is my favorite racing game, even over, I think, Dodo's Riding Dinosaurs. Like, Dodo's Riding Dinosaurs, like, it is so group dependent, I think, to have a good time, because it's very easy to have a bad time with that game as well, when you're like flicking stuff and hitting somebody and switching the spot where it's like, hey, I was in last place and now I'm in first. Like, those types of things bother people so much, I've noticed in our playthroughs. And sometimes you can have a good group that doesn't get mad and just has a blast playing it. But if you got a lot of competitive people, Hot Streak is the game you want to play with. That's so much fun. The next game I played was Kelp, Shark versus Octopus. That's a really cool hidden movement game for 2 people, where somebody's playing as the octopus and they're hiding behind these tiles, and the shark is going around trying to hunt down the octopus. One of the best asymmetric 2-player games I've ever played in my life. I was at an 8.5 on this one, close to a 9, because it's so good. Like, this is a game, and I don't think this is a new game, but it's a game that I have never been able to get a copy of, and now I want a copy even more because now that I've played it. Next game on my list, I played a game by Allplay called Money! This game was solid. I thought I was not going to like this game, but I was actually like at a 7 with this one. And it's just, you're exchanging money like with the players around you by throwing money out and grabbing piles of money. The thing is that once you grab a pile of money, you have to throw out the money you paid to basically take money. So like every turn, everybody flips over their money. Whoever bet the most money in that round gets to choose from the 2 options of cards that are laid out. And every currency is different, so it has like different currencies. It's like the pound, the rupees, and the US currency. Like, it has like different countries' currencies, and you're just trying to collect the same type of currency so that you can score a lot more points with that, and you're trying to get the higher valued cards and get rid of the lower valued cards. So you're trying to build a hand of like different cards, and it's really, really fun. I thought it was solid. I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea, but it was a pretty good game from all plays. So check out Money if you're interested in that one. I think it's Reiner Knizia too. I'm not 100% sure about that. Speaking of Reiner Knizia, I got to play Orbit, which I think Dice Tower gave this a 9 out of 10. I am sitting at somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8.5, somewhere in that range. I'm gonna do it like one apart. I think my play with it, I just kind of got messed up by the cards. So like I got a handful of like ones, and the basic gist of this game is that you're racing like your little flying saucer. You're trying to touch down on all the planets on the board, but the thing is all the planets rotate around the board, so trying to land on them at just the right time and trying to coordinate how you land on a planet. Then you can ride the planet through orbit, which takes you further, and then you can jump off and get onto other planets. Like you're trying to touch every single planet and then get back to your home planet and finish the game that way. Really, really fun. I got messed up with a hand full of like 1 cards, and you know, for me, I wasn't really having that great of a time, so I'm like, you know, talking about it, I'm like, man, it kind of stinks when you have a handful of 1s. I wish there was a way that you can kind of like reset your hand maybe, because when you get stuck with a handful of 1s, there's not, you can only move 1 space, and then there's like batteries which can, and so the guy that we were playing with was like, oh, but you can mitigate that, like don't let that bother you, you can mitigate that, and this and that. And then later on in the game, he had a handful of 1s, and then he's like, dang it, man, I have a handful of 1s, it sucks. And I'm like, yeah, that was me from the beginning of the game. But then once I got rid of all of those and I started getting some 1s that let me move 3 and let me move certain planets a bunch of times, then the game started to pick up. But I think it depends on the luck of the draw and what you kind of draw into. Still a really good game. I really enjoyed Orbit. I thought it was fantastic, and I think people liked it a little bit more than I did, but I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's a bad game by any means. So the next game on my list is a game called Ruins. This is produced by Allplay, but it was made by John DeClaire. John DeClaire is the guy who likes to make games with card sleeves. This is based off an older game that he made a while ago, but then he recreated it and made it a new game called Ruins. It reminds me a lot of Scout. If you're into Scout, then you'll probably like this game a lot. In Scout, you're basically laying out a hand of cards. Some people call it a trick. It's not really a trick-taking game, though. But people will kind of start the trick, but it is kind of trick-taking in the sense that you are laying out a specific number, and then you're laying out multiple of that number. And you don't have to like randomly, the random hand where it's like all my cards are like shuffled up and then it's like I can't move anything. In this game you can. And so like if I lead with a 1, the next player after me has to either match my 1 with another 1, or they have to top it by playing a card that's higher. They could play a 2, for example. Then the next player has to beat that number, and then it just keeps going around until everybody passes except for the last person who played a card. Then that person basically wins that hand, gets rid of all the cards, throws them out, and then leads the next trick, right? That's kind of the way the game works. But the cool part about it is that all the cards are in sleeves, and there's these transparency cards that you can purchase with like your little fireplaces or whatever. And when you flip fireplaces over, you can purchase cards from the market, and then you slide these transparencies into the card sleeves, and it alters what the card is. Like you could have a 5 and then buy from the market a card that says +4, so it's a 5 + 4. Now that card's a 9. So it's like I need to beat an 8, but I don't have an 8. All I have is this 5. Well, I could buy a transparency. Now I make it a 9, and then I beat it. So it's that kind of play is what makes this game stick out, and really what makes this game shine is the ability to really transform cards and see what they do. Some abilities let you count the card twice, so it's like this is 2 9s when I play it, or 2 6s. There's like wild cards with question marks that count as any number that you want, as long as it's part of a set, and you need to have the number that you're transforming it into in your hand. Really, really interesting stuff. I loved Ruins. Great game. So great, I ended up buying it. This was a game that I ended up putting into my collection, and I do not regret it. I like Ruins. It's super, super good. Next game on my list is a game called Soda Jerk. This was created by Chris Yee. Talked a little bit about it on my previous video, in my haul video, and Soda Jerk is cool, man. It is such an interesting game. If you are looking for a comparison, if you've ever played Vegetable Stock, it's like Vegetable Stock, just a little better. It adds an extra little element to the game that makes it really, really fun, where you're playing flavors of like different sodas into different fountains. And so there's like the different flavored fountains. And then when you play a soda card there, you put it face down. And then on your turn, you can either flip a face down card face up, or you could play a card from your hand. And the goal is whatever cards are left in your hand at the end of the game, those are the cards you'll score. So it's like if you have a blueberry in your hand, you'll score whatever the blueberries score. And if you have a banana, you'll score whatever the bananas score. But the thing is that when you're placing cards into fountains, every card that matches the fountain you place adds value to what it gives you, but every card that doesn't match the fountain will take away value. And so you kind of like playing this cool little market game, and then once you flip all the cards over, you can see which one of my cards are going to score and which ones are going to not score for me. And pretty cool game. I like the way he organized this. Very fun, very quick, very easy. The next game on my list is from Devere. It's called Transgalactica. Shout out to Devere, who was able to get me a copy of the game. It's really good. I really like this game. I learned how to play it from the Meeple University. They did a really good job teaching it with all of the errata. So if you are looking, because that's, I think the one downfall of this game was the rule book, but again, that's something that's fixable. People change rule books all the time, and once you get a new printed rule book, you're like, okay, now this makes a little bit more sense. I think there was some problems with organization, and also there were some rules that were kind of like not clear and left out, and some stuff that wasn't understanding. But apart from the sticker issue too, it's another one of those games from Devere that comes with like 3 sheets of like stickers that you have to put on the meeples. But once you do that, man, these meeples look amazing. All the pieces look great. I really like the way this game plays. You're just going up tracks, and the actions are pretty simple. Once you kind of get the hang of the game, it actually flows pretty well, and it's just an easy to play, but there's a lot of decision space when it comes to the tracks and what kind of abilities you get from it. I really like this game. I liked it a lot more than most people would put out there, and so I'm giving this game somewhere between a 7 and an 8 just because of some of the rulebook issues, sticker stuff. I didn't really enjoy that. My hands were cramping up after I finished everything, and some of the stickers didn't work. There's stickers that are supposed to go around the cylinders, and they don't stick at all. Like, I didn't even bother putting them on, so that's just a part of the game that was kind of unfortunate. But that was Transgalactica. Really like that game. Next one, Tieranog, a 7, 6 and 7, somewhere between there. It was all right. I didn't really enjoy this one. This is probably one of the only games I wasn't like ecstatic over. It was fun. I ended up winning, but it was good, but it wasn't great. Like, when I look at the box of Tieranog, it looks so epic, and then inside it's just a little card game, which was pretty cool. And then the cool part is it has kind of the same mechanism that Cretaceous Rails has, where you have 2 cards and then you put your little worker between the 2 cards, and then it's like you get to take one of the 2 cards you're putting it between. I kind of found that kind of dumb, because at the end of the day, it's like, I wish I could just put my worker on a card, because it's like when I put it between 2, there's definitely one card I don't want. You know what I mean? Like, I did my best to say, well, if somebody takes this from me, then I'll get the other one. But even then, it was kind of like, sometimes it was just like, I need this card, so I'm putting my worker there. And if I don't get it, then somebody will take the other card, and then my thing will just be floating out there, and I'll just grab something at the end. So that was pretty cool. But it was a good game. It was all right. I don't think Tieranog is anything to write home about. I think it's a solid game. I think it's like a 7 at the highest, 6 on the lowest for me. The next game I bought a copy of, but also got to play over there, is Windmill Valley. Windmill Valley is great. I really love this game, man. I love the little double rondelle gear box that you have for some action selection is so cool. And the fact that you can get an action on both sides, and then there's certain actions that have a plus sign, and it's like you can do this and this, because you can only select one action per turn. But it's cool because as soon as you start turning the gears turn in, and then when they do that, the gears are smaller than each other. So like, you're definitely going to have different combinations of actions that you can take, and it's really cool to figure out that kind of little puzzle when it comes to adding to your rondelles and building them up. There's open spaces where you can add new abilities and trigger different things. Really great game. I love the set collection of the different roses, the scoring cards. There's a lot going on in this game, but it's super fun. If you are a midway, heavyweight Euro type person that likes games like that, this is a good one to get your hands on. Windmill Valley, amazing. Second to last but not least, Wondrous Creatures. Wondrous Creatures was on the hot games list. It was a game that everybody wanted to play. I got taught the game, and we played through it. A lot of having to go back to the rule book to look things up, but man, this was a solid game. I'm somewhere between like a 7.5 and an 8.5. It was really, really fun, but there's a lot going on in this game that you need to pay attention to. And also, one of the things I didn't love, and it's not that I'm against this, because I think there are other games that execute it pretty well, but it just doesn't feel great in this game. Because in this game, in order to claim a trophy, you have to just sacrifice an entire turn for that. And so it's like, all right, I set up my board, I did everything that I needed to do, and now I get to claim that trophy on my next turn. My next turn comes around, I go, boom, I take my trophy, and then I'm like, all right, your turn. Like, I don't like those turns. Emberleaf had something similar, that when you play a card, sometimes the cards don't have any abilities on them. They only have slide abilities. And when you play a card for its slide ability, you're like, well, I have to play it first, then on my next turn I could slide it. So you kind of just like, play a card, your turn. And I just didn't like that about Wondrous Creatures, because then after you do yours and grab a trophy, you're one step closer to victory, yeah, but then everybody else is taking their sweet time and building and doing all these creative turns and stuff, and then you're like, I gotta wait till it's my turn again to go ahead and do what I need to do. But apart from that, it was a really, really good game. I enjoyed playing this one a lot. I think this is a game that I would potentially own, more so just to put it into my collection for my game nights. So when I do my game nights, I have a collection full of new games that people can play and be like, man, I've been wanting to play Wondrous Creatures, and I can teach the game. So yeah, so I think that Wondrous Creatures is great. Not the best game I played, but it was really, really solid, and I think there's a lot of people who are going to like this one. A lot of cool things you could do, catching different Pokemon in the game, because that's how it kind of feels, and then you're playing these cards and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. And then last game on my list is a game called Roth. Roth is a, what is this? This is a area control game made by Chip Theory. There's no chips in this game. That kind of bugged me, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Well, there are chips, I think, but they're really small and they're not really used that often. But it's got the same kind of like build to it, the way that it looks and the feel of it. But it looks and feels a little bit like Radlands, but it's like a really simple area control game. The booklet teaches you how to play this game is not great. We got taught by somebody who had played it a few times and had already been used to the rules and looking things up, so they were able to teach us and kind of hold our hands through the beginning half of it. Who won this game? I don't think I won this game. Did I win this game? No, I didn't win this game. But I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun playing this. I like the area control. I played as it's asymmetric, so like there's a bunch of different clans, so think like Root, but not as complicated as Root. I feel like this game was a little bit simpler. I almost felt like this game could be a good area control game for people who are just getting into the hobby. I'm not saying it's gateway. This is not a game that'll get people to play games. I think those people might have some trouble with this one, but I think it's simple enough that you can pretty much teach it to anybody, because some of the factions are pretty simple to know how to play as them, and I really liked it. I was somewhere between like a 7.5 and an 8.5. On the higher end, maybe an 8.5, maybe on the lower end, 7.5, 8. But I really like Roth. This is a game I want to get my hands on. I haven't been able to find a copy, but when I do, I think I would like to play this, because I like area control games, and I feel like this one did a good job with it, with the powers and the abilities. There was like this one faction that like when you like enter a zone, you can replace like a fighter from another person with one of your own that's died. So it's like you had like this what do you call those? Necromancer kind of abilities to like turn people into like your soldiers that have died in battle. It was such a cool mechanic. I was like, bro, that is so cool. And then all the factions were good at something, and it was just super interesting. So those are all the games I played at Dice Tower East. This is probably a really, really long video, but I think I played like 21 games at Dice Tower. Actually more than that. I don't think I had all of them on my list, but this was definitely a great year for games. I was really overlooking how good the games were this year, and although I look out there and I'm like, I wasn't excited about a lot of these games, I ended up having a really good time. So if you like any of these games, in the comment section, let me know what's your favorite game that you played from 2025, and let me know in the comment section so we can talk about it. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.